When we look at how do we put this into practice, first of all, we live in a different culture and society. Is the world changing?
Yeah.
How fast?
Yeah.
Practically by the minute. So what has been discovered in the corporate world through changing economies is you have to build a culture. So this is out of Harvard Business Review, right? We already talked about this a lot. A culture are beliefs, behaviors that inspire people in an organization. So a culture is what?
Beliefs.
And that do what? Does that sound like chiropractic? Right? Is chiropractic a philosophy? Yeah, it's a universal law, actually. So now a culture is not a goal. So to run your practice by numbers takes the power and the innate connection out of your practice. Now, do we need to measure by numbers? And numbers turned into action should create relationships. So when you're an elite client, we have the weekly intention sheet. We set 5 goals every week. The action steps based on those numbers turn numbers into actions that create lifelong relationships. That's a culture. Now, your goal and objective is not to create a chiropractic patient. You're not creating a chiropractic patient. That's not that hard. Your inspiration and intention is to create an inspired leader. Now the goal here, or the objective, or the outcome you want is to build a culture. A culture is its own entity. It has life force. So what you do is you feed the life force with inspiration, then that culture grows. Now that culture has its own life force and extends into the community. Now when you create an inspired leader, when every person is an inspired leader, within that culture, what do they want to do? Inspire others. That's how you build a big practice. Now what every other management group teaches you is let's solve problems by throwing new patients at it. How many besides me have done that? A lot of their career. And what happens? That's stress. But creating a lifelong culture, creating a what?
Lifelong culture.
Enhances life force. Now you're working with the universe. So what has taken, 100 years or so for corporations to understand is now business is incorporating universal law as a business strategy. When in reality, chiropractic has done it the whole time. The problem is, I think the problem is, number one, we haven't done spinal correction, so we haven't given a clear product to the general public. Number two, it's just been go out and get new people. When in reality, we want to teach people how to live differently. So the profession hasn't put, in my opinion, the communication strategies that it's taken to be effective to build a more powerful culture. What it's done is chiropractic has survived because the principle is truth, not that we've done a good job as chiropractors in the profession. Well, I think it's time we do a better job. How many people agree? Say, I do.
Yep.
So sometimes you have to look in the mirror and say, if it's not you, then who? You have to look in the mirror and say, if it's not me, then who? Right? So if you want to create inspired leaders, what do you have to be first? Inspired leader. That's what this weekend is about. Okay? 91% of all the corporations, 81% of the executives, of 1,200 senior executives say, without a winning culture, you're doomed for mediocrity. What this is also going to teach you is how to build a culture. When you come into Elite, officially as a client, every step is culture-based. Every step leads to lifelong relationships. The strength of his culture is built on strong values. You have to have clarity on your values, on strong beliefs. Does chiropractic have strong values and strong beliefs?
Yes.
Now you have to look at the happiness in your life is dependent on you living consistent with your values. Anytime you're living outside your values, you're just miserable. So having clarity on your values and being able to live according to those values is your success. So values help you become very clear on who you are, and more importantly, what do you think? Who you are not. Now what we tend to do is spend the first half of our life figuring out who we're not. How many people besides me have done that? Anybody besides me cause a little pain in their life? What do you think? Sometimes you still do it. Anybody besides me still create a little pain? Is that irritating? Yes, it is. So we don't like pain. We like joy, pleasure, love, and that's consistent, having healthy boundaries and strong core values that build relationships. Your relationship with yourself determines relationship with others. Relationship with who? Say me. Because if you're not clear with yourself, how can you possibly inspire others? If you're wavering with yourself, how can you possibly help others gain clarity within themselves? This weekend is really about building a relationship with yourself.